Okay, we are live now. I'm going to spot myself and you can mute now. So, yesterday we finished chapter 4. Today's chapter is the Ashwamedha Yaga. So, as of yesterday, King Dashrata has decided to uh, make Ashwamedha Yaga so that he can have a son. So, we are starting from there. The Ashwamedha Yaga. King Dashrata spoke to Vashishta and Vamadeva about the words of Sanat Kumara, which had been repeated to him by Sumantra. The Gurus were only too happy to have Rishi Shringa among them during the performance of the yaga. The king, therefore, accompanied by a large army and by his chief ministers and preceptors, began the journey to Anga, and after traveling through forests and several countries, arrived at the city where Romapada lived. Hearing about the coming of the great emperor of Kosala, Romapada hurried out of his city and went to the city gates to welcome Dashratha with great enthusiasm. The two kings greeted each other with great affection, and together they went to the presence of Rishishringa. The Rishi was glowing like a flame. The king of the Kosala fell at his feet and honored him. Romapada told him that the great friendship which had existed between himself and King Dashratha. They spent 7 days together happily, and on the eighth day, Dashatha told his friend, I have a boon to ask of you, my friend. I want you to allow your daughter and her husband, the great Rishi, to come to my kingdom for a while. This is to help me achieve something for which I've been praying for the last so many years. He then told Romapada about the yaga which he was planning to perform. Dashatha now approached Rishishringa and requested him to preside over the function. So be it, said the Rishi, and went with Dashatha to Ayodhya. The friends parted after affectionate farewells. Dashatha sent a host of messengers in advance asking them to prepare the city for the arrival of the illustrious guest. When the royal entourage arrived in the city, the streets had been decorated with banners and flags and flower garlands, and the entire city had a festive look. The king took the rishi and his wife to his antapura and made them stay in the apartment set apart for them. When he had brought them to his city, the king felt that he had already achieved the goal for which he was striving. The season Vasanta had now made its appearance. The rivers were filled with pure and sweet waters, and the trees were covered with fresh green leaves. Dashatha approached the honored guest Rishishringa and requested him to undertake the performance of the yaga. The Rishi said, now that the season Vasanta is here, I feel the time is perfect for the beginning of the yaga. You should instruct the ministers and your servants to collect the materials for the yaga, and you can now send the sacrificial horse for its sojourn around the entire Bharata Varsha. So the land where India is called Bharat or Bharata Varsha. So the king listened to him with respectful attention, and he instructed Sumantra to take care of all the details. He sent him first to fetch his guru Vashishta, accompanied by Vamadeva, Suganya, and others. They came, the masters of all the Vedas and all the sacred lore. Honoring them and placing them on their seat, the king spoke in his characteristic humble manner. You know only too well how much I've been pained at the thought that I have no son to continue the mighty line of the Ikshvakus. I have told you about the prophecy that my sorrow will be at an end if I perform the yajna with the great Rishishringa to preside over it. I now stand humbly in front of all of you, asking you to grant me permission to commence the yaga and to bless me. Vashishta and the others were pleased with the humility of the king, and knowing that what a righteous man he was, they were happy that he was about to perform the yajna, which would be the crowning glory of his life. Along with Risha Shringa, they began to make all the preparations for the yajna, and they told the king, we can assure you that the yajna will be performed without any hindrance, and your wishes will certainly be granted. On the northern bank of the Sarayu, the Yajnisala was soon constructed, and the materials necessary for such an elaborate yajna was assembled methodically and very quickly. The seasons passed quickly, and once again Vasanta heralded its approach by the fresh green buds on the branches of the barren trees. The very air seemed to breathe more freely, and there was happiness in the city and in the heart of the king and his queens, since the yajna was due to begin. Dasharatha took the dust of the feet of Vashishta and others and spoke to his guru. My lord, you have been my preceptor. You have been like a father to me since you were the one to initiate me into the great Gayatri. It's up to you to make this yajna successful and make me happy. Attended by all the kings of Bharatavarsha, the yajna was performed without a single fault, and the Ashwamedha yaga was drawing to a close. The king then requested Rishi Shringa to help him perform the yaga by name Putrakama, which would grant him the son he desired. The Rishi pondered for a moment and then said, there's a certain rite which is required in detail in the Atharva Veda. I happen to know all about it, and I will perform it for you. The Putrakama Yajna was begun at an auspicious moment, and a heavenly host assembled in the skies to receive their share of the Havis. So we'll stop there. I have a few questions. So who wants to summarize what we've read so far? So let's find out how much we remember.
I wasn't here. I wasn't here for the entire thing because I couldn't join.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just tell me
But
what. Okay, let's hear it
yeah.
from Surya then. Yes, go ahead.
So Dasharatha invited Sri Ranga to his palace to do the ritual, and
Mm-hmm.
then he went and asked like the gurus if they were fine with it, and then they said with like humility, and they were impressed by that and said it'll go without a fault. And then he invited all the kings of India and then conducted the ritual.
Did he invite all the kings?
No, they all came, I think.
He fetched his guru and accompanied with their sishyas. So, okay. What else do you remember? So he didn't, okay, where does Rishi Shringa live?
In his in
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 the
Dasharatha's.
kingdom called Anga. So I'm
Yeah.
asking this question because I want us to have active listening. So when you know that I'm going to ask questions, I want you to listen to all the details over and above the general story. Okay. My next question. So what was the yaga or the prayer? What was it called that they did?
I don't remember the name, but I know what it's for.
What is it for?
It was to get sons, like an ad.
Okay. The yaga, or where they have this fire and they do the prayers and they make offerings in the fire and say the prayers for a particular desire they have. So here they did Ashwamedha, was one prayer, and after that he said that he wants to do another prayer called Putra Kama. Putra Kama, Putra means son, and Kama means desire. So it's like a prayer made specifically asking for a son. Okay, so these were the two pujas or yagas that they performed. Okay. Laya, do you want to add anything?
Not really. Yeah, that's it.
So shall we continue?
Okay.
And okay, one last question. What season was it?
I think it was autumn.
No, spring.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they said spring in the text. I read it as Vasanta. Vasanta means spring season. Okay. So when Rishi Shringa came, he said, let's do it when spring begins, and it'll be a very good time to do the yaga. And they had a beautiful description of how Ayodhya looked when it was spring. He was talking about how all the trees were giving out new buds in the branches, and how the whole atmosphere looked very fresh and vibrant. And that's when everybody's heart also was filled with joy and happiness that they're going to do this yaga as well. So it was a very pleasant uh, setup, right? With this pleasant atmosphere that they are doing this puja. Okay. So I'll be asking questions. So let's hear actively. We are going to chapter 6, the Devas in distress. Okay. While the Ashwamedha was in progress, the Devas led by Indra went to Brahma, the creator. They said, my lord, we are sorely distressed and only you can help us. Brahma wanted to know what was troubling them, and they said, we are unable to bear the valor of Ravana. He has been harassing us no end, and we have reached a point when we can bear it no longer. Your gracious self has granted him boons which have made him powerful, so powerful that we have to behave like menial slaves. Because he's been favored by you, we have to suffer the many indignities he has been heaping on us. We have to bear the many atrocities he has been committing. But then, my lord, we have reached the limit of endurance. You must devise for some means of escape from Ravana and his persistent ill treatment of us. He frightens all the three worlds, and he has been wanting to insult me in my Amravati. Yakshas, Gandharvas, and Rishis are all scared of him and his cruelty. The sun is afraid to glow too brightly lest Ravana should punish him. Vayu does not blow too hard since he is in great fear of the Asura king. When when his eyes rests on it, even the sea with its ever-rolling waves comes to a standstill. You have granted him such a powerful boon that he cannot be killed by any of us. It's up to you to think of some method by which the destruction can be brought about. Brahma listened to them and said, you're right. I have granted him immunity from the hands of Devas, Dhanavas, Rakshasas, Gandharvas, Yakshas, and so you all are helpless. In his arrogance, however, Ravana did not deem it worthy of himself to ask immunity from the hands of a mere man. And that is how he will be killed, by a man. When they were talking thus, there came to their presence Narayana, the Lord of the Lords. Do you understand the story is happening parallelly? Okay, when the Putrakama yaga is happening, meanwhile, what's happening in the kingdom where in the Devas and the Indra and the Devas go to Brahma, and they are saying about all the difficulties they are having that Ravana is giving them. And Ravana is immune to be killed by who all? He cannot be killed by?
Like Rakshasas, like God, anyone like that, but he didn't say a man.
So all celestial beings, all power, devas, he took boon from Ravana, but he thought, I am immune from all these powerful people. Like mere man is not even considered, like it's not even worth considering. And
He
so
said
Brahma,
everyone with like divine powers, but then he didn't say man.
yes. So now Brahma is saying it's going to be a man who's going to kill him. So when they were talking thus, there came in their presence Narayana, the Lord of Lords. Narayana with the Shankha and Chakra. He was born by Garuda and seated on Garuda with his golden silk glowing softly. Narayana looked like the sun surmounting a cloud. Brahma and the Devas were overwhelmed by the coming of Lord Narayana and they worshipped him with folded palms. They said, "Please protect us from suffering, protect the world from evil. We look to you for succor. We do not have to tell you what is worrying us since you have come to us with the sole purpose of helping us and the entire universe. You will be born as a man. We gather to destroy Ravana." Narayana stood smiling and looked at them as though he were asking them to continue. Brahma said, "My lord, the good king Dasharatha of the Surya Vamsha is performing yaga by name Putrakama, and it is being presided by this sage Rishashringa. Dasharatha has 3 wives. If I may make a humble suggestion, please make us happy by being born as the son of Dasharatha. It has been prophesied that he will be the father of 4 sons, and all the 4 sons will be the amshas of you. Your avatara is essential for the good of mankind and for the good of the heavens. You and only you, my lord, will be able to vanquish Ravana. He is too powerful for anyone else." Narayana listened to the words of Brahma and said, "Have no fear, I have made up my mind to be born in the world of men. I will destroy this tyrant Ravana with his entire clan, and I have but this one purpose to fulfill when I descend into the world. After killing him, I will rule the world for 11,000 years before coming back to my abode." Narayana had thought over this problem of the avatara he had to undertake to save the world from Ravana. He had been wondering as to who was worthy enough to be his father, and he knew that Dasharatha, the ever righteous, who was performing the Putrakama Yaga, would be his father. He told the Devas and Brahma about his decision, and they were overjoyed. A few more years, and their sorrow would be at the end. They prostrated before him and praised him and his glory in words full of adoration. Narayana said, "To assist me in my mission, you should all be born in the world of men too. Ravana has forgotten to ask for immunity from monkeys and bears also. I would therefore like you all to be born as monkeys and help me when the time comes." Yeah? So, who is born as Rama?
Narayana.
Narayana.
Lord Narayana himself. And who asks him to do that?
Indra.
Brahma.
I mean, Brahma.
Brahma. So the we can think of Brahma is the entity of creation, right? The energy of creation or the God who is uh, who is the who's responsible for creation. And Narayana is responsible for what? Sustaining.
So
And
is Narayana the same as Vishnu?
yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so so avatara means it's like how do you say you understand avatara, right? He is born
Yes.
as a particular person on earth, and now he was himself thinking who is worthy to be my father, and he finds that Dasharatha, who is such a righteous king, is worthy to be his father, and he agrees to be born as Dasharatha. Not only that, Brahma says that Dasharatha will have 4 sons, and all 4 of them will have amshas of you. Do you know what amshas mean? The word?
A virtue.
Sorry, say that again.
Virtue.
Sorry?
Virtue.
Virtues. Ah, okay. That's one way to say it. Amshas means like parts of you, like, characteristics of you. So all 4 sons will have characteristics of Narayana. He says that. What else? Any questions? So we can read some more. We have
I
time.
have a question.
Yes.
Does it also say how like Ravana was born? I forgot if it says that.
Ravana was born. I'm
Yeah.
not sure if this book goes into that detail. I think it does. I think it does. From last time I remember, they do go into that also.
Okay.
Okay. So all this story we are reading has very, very deeper spiritual meanings. Um, So Narayana says he is going to be born. Avatara, they always the divine energy gets manifested in on earth. When you say manifested, they show up when there is lot of injustice. When actually the people or the world, the situation needs the goodness, needs the when injustice is more for justice when justice comes, it brings out balance in universe. And then that's when in all these different avatars, all these stories talks about one particular demon who's got all these great boons, and has but somehow they figure out one loophole which they miss out, and that's how Lord Narayana comes and brings that, takes up that avatara. Like, for example, in the story of Prahalad, how he takes up half man, half animal to kill Prahalad. So, in all stories, you will see this pattern, this similarities. I hope you're able to make that connection.
Yeah, I noticed
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So,
I feel
shall we?
like it's always Indra too who goes to someone for ask to help.
Yeah, I feel like
Hmm.
he's the
I
one
think it's
who's
always
usually
Indra.
Hmm.
like he's the one who's usually in trouble.
Yeah. Okay, so chapter 7, the birth of Rama. The Putrakama Yaga was almost drawing to a close. Everyone was watching, and all of a sudden, the fire seemed to burn with an unearthly glow. Out of the fire rose a divine form. He was dark and he was clad in crimson silk. His hair was tawny golden like the mane of a lion. He was wearing ornaments made of gold and set with precious stones. He was like the sun in radiance, and his arms were decked with bracelets of gold. A Chandrahara adorned has immense chest, I think it should be his immense chest, and his smile was as soft and charming as the radiance of the moon. The entire Yajnashala was illuminated by his presence. The king looked at him and stood with his palms folded. He saw that the divine being held in his hand a golden bowl with a silver covering. The celestial form spoke to the king in the midst of everyone. He said, I am a messenger from the creator Brahma. I have been commanded by the gods to hand you this vessel filled with payasa. So, payasa is like a sweet dish made with milk and sugar. Give it to your queens, and they will bear you the sons for whom you have been aching since so many years. The king prostrated before the divine being and accepted the bowl of payasa with great reverence. When he had taken it in his hand, the divine being blessed him and vanished from his presence. The yaga had come to a glorious conclusion, and the rishis blessed the king and asked him to go into the inner chambers and distribute the payasa to the queens. The king went to Kaushalya, the eldest of the queens, and told her, Look, my queen, the gods have answered our prayers, and a son is to be born to you. And so saying, he gave half the payasa to her and asked her to partake of it. He then gave half of what was left to Sumitra and half of what was left to Kaikeyi, the youngest queen. Seeing that there was still some left, he gave this again to Sumitra, and there was a great joy in the hearts of the queens and that of the king. The Devas, after receiving their havis, went back to their abodes. The yaga had been completed, and the citizens followed the king and rishis into the city of Ayodhya. The kings who had attended the yaga went back to their kingdoms. You're right, Surya. All the kings came. Yeah. Back
Yeah,
to their
you said
kingdoms
that before.
after having been honored by the king. Rishis from different parts of the world returned to their ashramas after taking part in the two yagas. So we'll end the reading here so that because this chapter is a little bit longer, we'll revise before we finish. So, who are how many queens does King Dasharatha have?
4.
4, is it?
No, he has three.
Oh, yeah, 3. Sorry.
What are their names?
Kaikeyi,
Say
Sumitra.
in order from first to.
I forgot.
Kaushalya?
Kaushalya, Sumitra, Kaikeyi.
Kaikeyi. So, what did Dasharatha do with the payasa?
He gave half of it to
Kaushalya.
Kaushalya.
Yes.
Half of what was left to Sumitra,
Uh-huh.
and then split again the half of what was left and gave half of that to Kaikeyi, and then gave that other little bit to Sumitra.
Excellent. So you're listening very, very well. And so we'll soon see how the 4 children are born. So Sumitra is going to have twins, and Kausalya will have one son, Rama, and Kaikeyi will have one son, Bharata. So we'll continue.
Like I know that Rama's the only, like his mom only gives birth to Rama. How come, but she drank half of the entire bowl?
Yeah.
So how come she only had one
That's
son?
a good question. That's a good
But
question.
Sumitra drank.
She drank twice, so she had 2 kids. So this.
But she didn't even drink that much compared to.
So they are saying she had it, she drank twice and she had 2 kids. Okay. But good to question. Think about it and see what comes up for you.
Maybe because he's like more powerful.
What do you think, Surya?
I think it's not about the amount, but the times you drink.
Okay.
Like not how much you drink.
Okay. Nice. So let's say our closing prayer. There's no right or wrong answer. So it's what you come up with, and both your answers are right. Actually, I liked what how Ovia explained that it's more power. He's more powerful. Makes sense. Shall we say our closing prayer now? Close your eyes, sit straight, drop your shoulders, open your chest. Breathe in, and as you breathe out, chant Om. 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 Om Purnamada Namidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnas Purnamada Purnameva Vasishyate Om
Shanti,
Shanti. Bye.